Hello, this is BWOAH Racing with today's BWOAH score, and what a crazy race that was. Absolutely tremendous. So much to talk about, but I'm going to go through the race order. Lewis Hamilton first. Probably the luckiest win of Lewis Hamilton's career. I mean, of course, Sebastian Vettel had him in his back pocket for pretty much most of the race. Lewis Hamilton, towards the end of his first stint on Superstars, had a massive lockup and was forced to pit early for soft tyres. Really, and then of course with his teammates, extremely unfortunate tyre puncture. I will get to that later. Lewis Hamilton was able to stroll to the finish. And of course, so it's only 7 points for Lewis. And of course, it's only 7 points for my man, Kimi Raikkonen. Kimi had a locked up his only super softs in Q2 in qualifying, and then he went off and of course messed up his final lap in Q3, and then of course in the race he got into that 50-50 collision with Ocon. Neither of them were at fault. Really unlucky. Feel sorry for Ocon, but of course it's a racing incident. And then of course Kimi then got stuck behind Leclerc and Lance Stroll because he went to the pits during the safety car to go on the soft tyres, because of course he had no super softs and spent most of the race not really getting temperature into his tyres. So really, with that safety car for the Red Bulls, it was probably quite a massive stroke of luck really. And then of course with Bottas and Vettel of course locking up, Kimi can really count his lucky stars, because of course that was not a good race for Kimi. It's only 7 points, and I have to be very honest, to be quite frankly honest, very, very lucky. And of course that result does leave Kimi 22 points behind Lewis Hamilton in the standings. So, he's driving better than he was last year, but I have to say Kimi needs to step up his game for Barcelona, otherwise he will call it his final year in F1. And I kind of, after yesterday's qualifying, I wasn't even sure I wanted to watch Kimi drive today. I just felt so depressed. Third place, though, is Sergio Perez. Now, I would make him his driver of the day, but I think that someone else drove even better than him. But it's 9 points. Perez kept his head, and yes, I know there was that collision that got him 5 seconds added to his pit stop, but nevertheless, he kept his head. He kept calm whilst everyone else was losing theirs. And that overtake on Vettel was just so well timed. He kept his cool. And I have to say, I think with that performance, he is a serious contender for potentially Kimi's seat at Ferrari next year. I really can't put it past him. He hardly makes mistakes. He's driving, despite a poor start to the year and the fact his car isn't as good as last year's car, he's driven an absolute blinder of a race. Just superb. I mean, a mark of a good driver is someone who can pull the rabbit out of the hat even when their car is quite poor, and today Perez did exactly that. Well done, son. You are now officially have more podiums than Pedro Rodriguez. 9 points. 9 points. I don't think I'll be scoring you that for quite a while, unless of course you keep driving like that. Fourth place is Sebastian Vettel, only 7 points. Wow, had the race in the bag really, until of course the two Red Bulls had their big collision. Of course, however, having said that though, he was forced to come in slightly earlier to pit for softs, just like Lewis, and when he came out on the softs, he couldn't quite catch up to Bottas, and then of course the safety car come out, and with that big lockup at the end of the restart, I have to say I only can give him 7, because ultimately he bottled it, he messed it up, and he is supposed to be Ferrari's main man after all. And when you are Ferrari's number 1 driver, you can't mess up like that. So sorry Vettel, it's only 7 points. And really though, considering the fact that you've made no mistakes right up to that point, that is quite bad. Quite bad considering the fact that you've been on. Kimi did have the better pace, but you were the one who made no mistakes. It was like roles reversed this weekend. I mean, Vettel's usually the one who's faster, but often then makes a mistake, whilst Kimi's the one who's slower but makes no mistake. But this weekend it's like roles reversed. Kimi's just the one who got the better result. So only 7 points for you, Vettel. 8 points goes for Carlos Sainz. brilliant result considering he's had quite a mediocre start to the season. However, he only did manage, of course, he was only running ahead of the two Red Bulls because he started a race on ultra softs, and I have to say, of course, he did then have to spend a lot of time in traffic. He had to of course, just like everyone else, he was struggling with the soft tyres, not the soft. But of course, the super softs themselves were not working very well. This circuit is not a very good track at all because of the fact that it's got such long straights, meaning that the brakes lose temperature so easily, and the tyres. But good job, 8 points. Big. Of course, he also outpaced Hulkenberg all weekend, so that is a brilliant result. In 6th place, though, scoring points for the very first time is Ferrari young driver Charles Leclerc for Sauber, getting 8 huge championship points for the team from Hinwil. Of course, for me, he's got to be the driver of the day. That's 10 points for his BWOAH score. Tremendous drive. And of course, because of that result, it means that Sauber are only 1 point behind Haas, and I will get to them later. In 7th place, almost just as impressive, Fernando Alonso. What a drive, despite damaging his cars on the first lap after getting into, well, loads of cars were hitting each other on the first lap, to be fair. I think I can't even remember it now, but 9 points on the BWOAH score, and this is a thing with McLaren. The car is bad. The car is seriously awful, but yet they keep scoring points. And of course, because of Alonso and Vettel finishing 7th and 9th, that means that McLaren are only 19 points behind Red Bull. Of course, they're only 1 point ahead of Renault, but McLaren, if their upgrades for Barcelona turn out to be any good, they could be in for a serious shout for P3. I'm not joking. I'm actually not joking. Meanwhile, in 8th place is Lance Stroll getting his first points on the board. And I have to say, today's performance was arguably far better than his drive to P3 last year in Baku. Lance Stroll had to do more overtaking. He had to make his own luck for this time round. He had to fight Leclerc. He had to fight Raikkonen. He had to fight really also. He had to fight, not the Toro Rosso. He had to fight Grosjean. He had to do he did put in a lot of impressive moves. So today he gets 8 points, which is a massive improvement on his really poor start to the season. And then in 9th place, it's Stoffel Vanderpool, who for me only gets 6 points. He did a good job, but earlier on he was off the pace, despite the fact that he had no real damage. But yet, I have to say, he really was quite a long way behind Alonso. He just didn't. Astonishingly, Alonso did an amazing job, whilst Vanderpool did a mediocre job. And it's only because of the amount of crashes we had that Vanderpool got to 9th place. Very, very lucky, I have to say. So you only get 6 points. And in the last point scoring position, it's Brendon Hartley who scored his first point. However, it was not an impressive drive, and what he did in qualifying was so stupid. He had to punch it, but for some reason he decided to stay on the racing line. And for someone who is 28 years old and has 2 World Endurance Championships and a 24 Hours of Le Mans victory to his name, that is pretty awful. But of course, he did get ahead of Pierre Gasly, although of course that was incredibly lucky itself, so only 5 points for his BWOAH score today. But of course, hopefully he'll get his head straight and start performing from now on. In the 11th place was Marcus Ericsson, completely miles off the pace in comparison to Leclerc. Marcus Ericsson went back to being Marcus Ericsson. However, he was not at fault for what would happen later on in the race, which I will talk about when I get to a certain driver. But it's only 5 points for his BWOAH score, just because he had that big lock-up earlier on where he had to get rid of his super softs, and he had to go on a soft tyre, meaning that that just compromised his race very early on after only 24 laps, which is not good. And he ended up making 4 pit stops because his soft tyres also went off, meaning he had to keep going on all sorts of ultra softs like Vanderpool, who himself couldn't look after the tyres at all. Pierre Gasly sadly only gets 5 points himself. He got hit by Magnussen God, how unlucky is that? But then, of course, every driver has been hit by Magnussen at some point in their career. Kevin Magnussen himself gets 3 points. Just utterly awful. Yes, I know Roman Grosjean had a bad weekend, but Magnussen should be doing better than that Haas. And of course, because of that result, Haas are only 1 point ahead of Sauber. So, you know, all this talk of Haas getting 4th place in the championship has already evaporated. They are only 1 point ahead of Sauber. What a joke, really. Valtteri Bottas, the first of retirees. Wow, how sad. How so unlucky. That has to be one of the worst strokes of luck I've ever seen a driver get. That has to be right up there with Kimi Raikkonen's last lap tyre blowout at the Nürburgring in 2005. Well, it wasn't a tyre blowout, it was the suspension snapping in half, but my God, that is how bad it is. To any Valtteri Bottas fans watching this, I give out a huge hug to you, because as a Kimi fan, I have seen it happen to the Iceman, and my God, it feels goddamn awful. And for that performance he put in today, though, he gets 9 points. He drove a steady race, but of course he did manage to stretch out his stint on the super soft 40 laps. 40 laps, what a performance. I mean, he could have well have stretched it out long enough for him to win the race. Without that collision between the two Red Bull drivers, I think he could have won. And because, of course, with the safety car, he was still in a prime position to win after Vettel locked up. My heart breaks for Valtteri. It's just, wow, how horrible. Formula 1 is so mean. It's so horrible sometimes. But of course, the next 3 drivers are the contenders for today's reject of the race. Of course, Charles Leclerc was my driver of the race, but the next 3 are the contenders. But I think we're going to start with the Red Bull drivers. Just, you know, Verstappen and Ricciardo were swapping places, you know, so intensely. I mean, it was almost like watching the 2 Force India drivers from last year, but today, Verstappen and Ricciardo, there was nothing to pick between the pair of them. Absolutely nothing. And, you know, I know they struggled with temperatures and the tyres, but my goodness me, when they got on the Ultrasoft, they were right all over each other's backsides. But unfortunately, got on the run down to turn 1 on lap 40. Verstappen did his typical move of absolutely hogging the inside line, whilst Ricciardo himself did his typical move of trying to squeeze down the inside, and there was only going to be one result. Those 2 drivers, in many ways, they are the result of Red Bull's pressure cooker environment. Their junior program is just full on pressure. I mean, you've literally signed this sort of watertight, lifelong contract with the Red Bull company, and what happens is you move to Toro Rosso, and the only place after that is to move to Red Bull, and inevitably that was the only result. And this whole thing by Christian Horner by saying, oh, the 2 drivers have to apologise. Those 2 drivers are fighting for their future. They don't know whether they'll ever actually make it as top drivers in F1. Yes, I know both of them have 9 race victories combined together, but you know, there are plenty of other drivers around the grid who could take the second seats at Mercedes and Ferrari in the future. I mean, Perez, Magnussen, if Magnussen gets his act together, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and maybe Ocon himself. These 2 are under serious pressure, and for me, I'm going to actually give the rejects of the race award to Roman Grosjean. Once again, Roman Grosjean he's an absolute idiot. This guy has no excuses. He's 32 years old. He has 15 years worth of professional car racing experience. And yet somehow behind the safety car he crashes. And this is not the first time he's done it. He crashed out behind the safety car in the wet behind treacherous wet conditions before the start of the race. And then of course in Hungary a few years ago he also crashed out behind the safety car. This is the 3rd time he's ever crashed out behind the safety car. This guy is not ever, this guy will never drive for Ferrari. If Ferrari ever hired this guy, they have lost their minds. This guy is a liability, and anyone who sits there and thinks he will ever do, he is still worthy for a drive at the Scuderia. You need your eyes tested. You need to see an optician. You need to go to Specsavers. Don't you tell me this guy is any good. He is an absolute wanker. He is a hothead. He cannot stay calm under pressure. He just can't stay calm. If people want to know why I hate this guy, this is exactly why I hate him. It's all these stupid mistakes. He's 32 years old. He's a dad of 3 sons. You'd think he'd be more mature. You'd think he'd be calmer, but he isn't. He just loses the plot all the time. Oh my god, he loses his concentration. He gets angry at everything. He blames the car. He blames the team. He blames his teammate. He can't blame anyone but himself. When is he going to blame himself? When is he going to blame himself? When is Romain Grosjean going to point the finger at himself? I don't think he can. I don't think he ever has blamed himself, not once in his whole career. He just cannot do any sort of self-criticism or any sort of self-assessment. This is a guy who is still the same stupid hothead who kept crashing into everyone in 2012 and 2013 for Lotus. He is still the crash kid of those years, and believe me, if he ever ends up being Sebastian Vettel's teammate, I'm pretty sure Sebastian Vettel will probably actually deliberately go behind Grosjean's back and ask Ferrari to actually step Grosjean down, because, God, seriously, he is a bad driver. He is absolutely garbage compared to Perez and Ricciardo. He's not even on there. He's not even on the same page as those two. Never mind Hulkenberg or even, I don't know, Pierre Gasly or... I mean, he's so bad at this point. He's literally almost practicing the same bracket as Lance Stroll, to be honest. He's just not that good. And, of course, Hulkenberg, of course, for those 3, they all get 5 points. Kind of did well until they mucked up. And then, of course, Hulkenberg, he only gets 5 points. Did well, however, his teammate was outpacing him, and I think he was in 6th place, but then, of course, he had that crash. Just really not good enough. And if anyone ever wants to know why, the fact how is he never got on a podium yet? It's always down to bad luck. No, it's down to the fact that Hulkenberg always messes up when he's got a chance. He always bottles it. He's a nice bloke. He doesn't go around blaming other people like Romain Grosjean does, but he doesn't seem to have that consistency required to be a top team driver. And last but not least, Ocon and Sorokin. I'm not going to give them points. I mean, apparently, though, Sorokin will get a free grid place penalty for his antics at the start of the race. So that's really kind of his reputation going down the bin. But having said that, though, he's under pressure as well. So I'm not going to score him or Ocon any points. He went out on the first lap. I can't really judge their races. So if you enjoyed the BWOAH score, please like and subscribe. And I will see you again next time.